My name is Paris Pitsillides. I'm Director of Strategy at Matchboxology. And what we do here is we're a creative incubator that comes up with innovative, creative and business solutions. And one of the byproducts of what we do is the How Mandela Are You app. How Mandela Are You is, as the name suggests, it's the reason we created it was to remind people of what Mandela stood for. Yeah, he's, as people know, the most famous prisoner in the world. But you know, when '94 came around, we were full of goodwill and we had good reasons to do what we were doing. And we think that we've maybe lost our way a little bit. The challenge of the app is to ask people to think about what Mandela stood for, his values, and whether they're still relevant today. The app was launched 1 month ago. It was a soft launch because we were on Android first, and we're waiting to get onto iTunes before we started doing some PR. And of course, the app is it's aimed at the global market. What's interesting about it is that we wanted to create a Mandela index, pretty much the same as there's a MAC index that measures the strength of a currency. We said we'll take the scores of what people get on the app and we'll create a Mandela index that measures the world's Mandela-ness. So what we're doing is we get a feedback of the result once a month, and you can go onto How Mandela Are You website and we'll have pie charts that shows you what people are scoring around the world. The questions themselves are interesting in that obviously we didn't want to make it easy and a walk in the park and needed to be a little entertaining. So we looked at some of the sayings that Mandela has made over his lifetime, and we looked for the ones that are not as obvious, the answers are not as obvious as you think they are. And we've done a variety of yes, no, multiple choice answers, etc. Quite easy to participate. Even one of the guys that wrote the test, after not seeing the questions for 4 or 5 months, took the test and only scored 60%. So it's not that easy. It really makes you think. And the whole point about this is an app as an educational tool really is to force you to think. And once you've selected your answer, we actually give you the real answer. So it's a learning experience as you go through it. Physically, without approvals and getting people to give it the go-ahead, it only took 2 months. It's actually quite a simple app in its first version. Version 2 and 3, etc. will be more involved. But in this, it's quite simple, really. The month of July has become, apart from having Madiba's birthday on the 18th, it's also the basis upon which Mandela Day around the world is celebrated. And Mandela Day asks people to donate 67 minutes of their time to a good cause. And the purpose of that is to make people aware of the fact that you as an individual can give back to the world. And what the app does is that it questions your individual values. So it's pretty much aligned to what Mandela Day is all about. We often forget about what people who sacrificed in order to teach us something. Yeah? We forget about their learnings. And the purpose of this app is to bring it to the fore for everybody. Well, there are 2 parts to this. Yeah? One is a smartphone user should understand that he can learn something from this app. It questions his value system. The app brings with it some really interesting artwork. It's based on Madiba. It provides links to relevant sites like the 46664 Bangles site and the Foundation site and the Children's Fund site. And I think one of the greatest features of the app is that you're able to share your score with your friends on Facebook or on Twitter or even by email. And it's putting the challenge out there. So once you've taken the test and thought, ooh, maybe I'm not so maybe my Mandela-ness is a little shallow. I suppose it's, I don't know if it's just a smartphone, but it's the viral component of digital communication that we're trying to exploit here. The only two platforms we're going with is Android and iTunes. And the reason for that is because they are combined the two biggest platforms globally. And should the uptake be very successful, we'll migrate it onto the third and fourth next biggest platforms. On the day that we launched this app on iTunes, we were one of 268 apps. So the competition out there is phenomenal. And imagine that there are 268 apps getting launched every day. So people have a lot to choose from. So the first lesson is you better have something of value. I believe that we have a very niched market in that we're appealing to people, A, who know who Mandela is, B, who have maybe a political alignment or a social alignment. In the month of July, when the awareness is up, it'll begin to pick up. But what we've noticed, every time we send out a batch of press releases, we get a bit of a spike on sales. So clearly people do respond to that. But I believe that we will eventually get a groundswell. And we're banking a lot on the viral component of it. So yes, it's not an instant success, but we think that in the long run, we'll achieve what we need to. It is directly linked to 46664 Bangles in that you can access the Bangles site via our app, and the reason for that is that we want people to go and investigate what the Bangles are about, and the fact that when you buy a bangle, money gets put to good use. And at the same time, you can also go through to the Nelson Mandela Children's Fund site, where you can make a donation. And all the profits from this app are going to the Children's Fund as well. So those are the relevant links. If you go onto 46664 website, you'll see there's a link to our app, and we've asked all the Nelson Mandela associated sites to have a link to us as well. How Mandela are you?